All right. Hey, guys. I see Jesus is here. Jesus, how's it going? It's been a while. Is that right? Banks, you're getting the the pass tomorrow? Oh, boy. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. We're going to talk today about, what's coming next, and it's not great. And hopefully we can still do something about it. I think we can, but we're going to have to wake up, a lot of us. So anyways, hopefully the sound is good today. Looks like it is. Hey, Peter. So, okay. Yeah, Jesus, introverted historian. It is I. Okay, so today we are going to talk about an article that I saw that it passed very incognito amongst all the articles that are going through, and it is probably one of the most alarming articles because there is no reason anymore for this. There's no rhyme or reason about it. There's no scientific reason. So we're entering a very dangerous phase of this whole pandemic. So yeah, thanks. Don't worry, the AI is doing that for you as we speak. So I'm going to show you. Banks is like my favorite, like, friendly troll. He's always making me laugh. Hey, Crit. Hey, Patton. Crit, how's it going? I hope you're well. And Christian Delorme, it's been a while. I hope you and Melanie are doing well. Hello, Phénox. MTM. So we're just going to give a couple more minutes before we get into this depressing data that I have for you today. And I'm going to then show you how close we are to a complete escalation in society. And before, when, for example, let's pick World War II, when Nazism was emerging, a bunch of countries were able to band together and fight the Nazis. But right now what's happening is everything is so widespread at the same time that there are no government agencies that will help us. So this is the first thing we have to realize. There is nobody coming in to save us. There's nobody. It's every single citizen across the world, in whichever country you're in, that must absolutely do something about it. Like the time for the lethargic behavior and the, oh, it hasn't affected me yet, like that kind of time is really coming to a very quick end. And by that single article, I'll show you exactly why. So, oh, thanks, Faye. I know it's football. I know it's football. My husband is watching right now too. So I thought it was a really good time to do a stream because he's busy and my kid is busy and everybody's on a computer somewhere. So I have a bit of time. So I apologize if this interferes with your football. But yeah, trust me, more things are about to start interfering with a lot of our stuff. So, hey Trish. Okay, let me start. We have 16 people. That's quite a good amount for a no announced stream on a Sunday afternoon. So I'm going to get started and show you the article that I was referring to. So check this out, guys. This is an article that appeared yesterday. Friday. And the title is Ontario University will not allow unvaccinated students who normally learn in person to take online courses. So if we read a bit more in the article, it will not allow students who normally learn in person to take part on online courses this fall if they have not been fully vaccinated. So you can't do online learning anymore unless you're fully vaccinated. Now, which grand institution of knowledge has decided to come up with that? Well, Wilfrid Laurier University. Now, remember, this is the one that was involved in the whole thing with Lindsay. Oh, what's her last name? She was like a teacher's assistant or a professor assistant. I'm not sure what they're called, but before you're a professor yourself and you're helping and you teach a class here or there. So she was one of them, and she had done that open discussion about allowing different opportunities for different viewpoints. And she had mentioned something by Jordan Peterson, and apparently she got called. Anyways, you guys know that story. I can't remember her last name, but I'm sure somebody will know. But Lindsay Shepard, thank you, Binks. Binks is always to the rescue. Every time I have a mental gap, he's here to fill it. Okay, so Lindsay Shepherd. So yes, so that this is the same university. And before we get into the alarmingness of this article, let me just show you something else that's offered. This is Wilfrid Laurier course offerings, and this is their philosophy, more specifically their ethics program. So one of the one of one of the courses they're offering, that you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. The discordance and the mental gymnastics you have to do to take away freedoms and rights while promoting freedom is right and rights is insane. They're pure insane. Like, I am of the belief that the universities are insane at this point, because look at this. A study of some of the fundamental and social and ethical issues brought about by the biomedical revolution, behavioral control by drugs, psychosurgery, and psychotherapy, experimentation, informed consent. It's this is the Wilfrid Laurier philosophy ethics program, where they're teaching you about informed consent as part of their medical ethics, and yet you cannot go to school there unless you have a vaccine. I just, like, it is so insane that I almost have no words left to describe how crazy this is. This is a level that is the what is the Binks, help me out here. What's the word I'm looking for? The when you have two opposing views that simultaneously exist at the same time. That's the word I'm looking for. Somebody can put it in there in the chat. That's what we're looking for. So when you have two opposing views that you're holding together at the same time, and you go through life, they both, extinguish themselves out, but you still hold both views. So anyways, it's absolutely crazy. Hi Tamjit, I'm happy you're here. And Space and the Spy Patriot, you guys rock. Thank you for joining my depressing stream on this Sunday with the depressing rain. I don't know if it's raining where you are. Yeah, see, Binks is like my history colleague here. Yes, cognitive dissonance, that is 100% what I was looking for. So the level of cognitive dissonance is it's level 100 at this point. Like, you can't go higher than this. So on one hand, you have the medical ethics, and that's just the medical ethics. Like, we haven't even gone, like, there's legal philosophy. There is, I love this one, theories of reality is another one. There's a whole bunch of different things, and here you have more ethics here. And then when you look into the graduate section, you have even more. So, relational autonomy. Yeah, let's look at that one. Personal autonomy focus. On specifying the conditions some action, desire, decision, motivation, or life must meet in order to count as truly an agent's own. That means you own your own body, you make your own decisions. This is within their ethics philosophy, yet the same university says, students are required to disclose their vaccination by October 8th. So a little bit of privacy violation here, a little bit of personal interjection, a little bit of baddie government injecting their way in here. Those who refuse to do so, as well as students who do not get both doses, could face the following consequences: being unable to attend campus or locations. And that means deregistration from fall in-person courses, but also having your access to My Learning Space suspended. My Learning Space is online learning. So that means you can't go to online learning anymore. So essentially, according to Laurier, if you are an unvaxxed, you do not have a right to an education, even if you pay for it. So they expect that by the winter term, everybody will be fully jabbed. So what this means is there's a couple of things that are seriously wrong here from so many perspectives, and we'll go through a few of them, and I'm sure I'm going to miss some because there's so much wrong. I don't even know if I can cover it all. But what does this mean that they want everybody on campus to be vaccinated? So that means that they are going to have to set up some form of physical barrier, right? Some kind of a physical thing, and you have checkpoints. So the campus is going to be fully enclosed at this point. You can't freely walk on campus anymore. There's going to be checkpoints. And somebody at those various checkpoints will have to check your papers. So that's the first thing. So it clearly separates the people this way. The unvaxxed are denied education, so that's another one. Now, I know most of you have followed all of my Nazi series that I've done, and remember when the Jews were kicked out of professions and kicked out of universities? Kind of the same thing happening right now. A minority group is being kicked out of institutions, so jobs and now education with this one. So Laurier seems to be the trailblazer in this new tyrannical environment that we're trying to bring in Canada. On the education side, they're the first ones that I know of. Maybe there's other ones, but they have to go through you have to go through papers now to go on campus. You can't even study there, not even online learning, if you don't have the jab. So very alarming indeed. And the best part of this craziness is that at some point they say there is no reason for this. I have to try to find where they said that. Oh yes, right here. No further explanation was provided for why students learning remotely would have to be fully vaccinated. So this is the truly dangerous, like the insidious and absolute amount of danger that we're faced with here in Canada. I cannot believe this is Canada. But they didn't give a reason. There's no reason. It's just, you want an education, now you must be jabbed. And so I'm not even going to get into more of that, because the more I talk on YouTube about this, the more the algorithm and the AIs and the people reviewing my content will strike me. So I have to be kind of limited on here, but I'm going to make other videos talking about this on BitChute and Rumble, and you can find them there. So keep an eye out for those. But it's absolutely crazy, because now they're saying, in consultation with public health experts, we believe that the jab are critical to the health of our campus community, a spokesperson said. So this is where the escalation of the measures is happening. So we already saw it with the medical workers themselves, and then it became private companies, like public sector. Now private companies are starting to enforce this, and now education. And this, so it starts at university, but don't worry, it will trickle down and come to high school and come to grade school, like the little kids. This is a foreshadowing of the level of insanity they're willing to take this to. So in a few months, they will say that kids in school who are not double vaxxed can no longer attend school in person and no longer attend school at online classes, because of course they don't want to reward people for not taking the jab. They want to punish. So that is the most egregious part, is when we have turned now from public safety, public health narrative, oh, we're trying to do what's best for everyone, to we will actively punish people who don't go along with everything we demand. And this is the start of it. This is the punishment. So the punishment, you lose your job. Punishment, you lose your education. And soon your kids are going to be home because they're going to get kicked out of school unless they're double vaxxed. I'm curious. I don't even know if people are going to be vaccinating their kids. Like, I don't know how people feel about that. I've heard that some adults were okay taking it themselves, but they don't want to give it to their children. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, Australia is Canada in 3 months, 100%. We're just a few months behind. So I'm thinking by November and December, they're going to roll out the jab in schools. And then after that, starting in January, they're going to say, if you didn't get the jab, you can't come to school anymore. That's what I think. I think I saw political foolishness in here too. Hey, yeah, the experts have gotten it wrong. And yeah, they are useless. It's so frustrating watching it. I was reviewing the timeline the other day, guys, and Absolutely insane. So we started, and I'm just going to review this with you now, but I'm working on a video on that too. We started with, don't worry, COVID's not a threat to Canada. So remember that, March 2020, don't worry, it's not a threat to Canada. Then COVID came in, it became kind of a threat to Canada. They decided to bring in the public measures. And then they said, don't worry about a mask, And remember when they said, oh, don't do social distance, like don't avoid Chinese people. My God, like you're racist if you do that. Remember that little phase? That was a 2-week phase. And then in March, they came out with, okay, well, we don't really know what this is. So let's do 2 weeks to flatten the curve, but you don't need to wear masks. And then it became a few weeks after that, oh, yeah, you should wear masks. And then it became, maybe you should wear 2 masks. And then it became, oh, but you also have to social distance. We don't have a vaccine yet. The 2 weeks became a year and a half of lockdowns. Of course, they gave us a little bit of our freedom back in the summer with the full-blown intention of coming back harder in the fall, which is, this is what they're doing. Now they're announcing that you cannot have an education anymore. And remember when they said, this was probably October 2020, so last year, oh, there's rumors about these COVID hotels or COVID camps for returning passengers. That's false, that's fake news. And then we found out in January that there were actually going to be some COVID hotels for people to go and quarantine in at their own expense. And now they're saying, and then they said, oh, don't worry about a vax passport. There's not going to be a vaccine passport. What we're going to do is we're going to make the vaccine available to people. We're going to make it available. And that became, oh, you really should get it. And then it turned into, since I would say now, January 2021, we've been having a 24-hour infomercial on the vax since then. And it's become, you must take it, you must take it, you must take it. You cannot, you have no option. Close your mind, roll up your sleeve, right? That should be the Canada's motto. Close your mind and open your sleeve. Don't even try to think about it, argue with us. We're going to tell you what's best for you and you're going to go along with it. And then they started with the rewards, oh, if you get your vaccine, we're going to give you a gift card. We're going to give you a lottery, like all of these crazy things. And then they came out with the threats. And now they're coming out with the punishments. And the next step after that, this is where my warning comes in. The next step after that will be the violence against the non-vaccinated. This is the next step. So you know how the Nazis had the night of the crystal knot, night of broken glass. And we're about to have one of those. So across the world, there's going to be various dates where we're going to go through this, but they are going to now allow violence. So what will happen is once the violence starts against the people who decided not to take the jab, they won't prosecute people who attack them, kind of like what BLM was doing. They won't prosecute people if they go after the vax. But if a vax person happens to go walk in a park, an unvax walks through a park and doesn't have his papers, the Papieren bitte, then of course they're going to get arrested and thrown in jail. So that's already happening, but the next step is the violence against, and it's going to be endorsed by the governments of the world who are all working together with this. And why this is so dangerous is that in World War II, a bunch of countries were able to band together against the Nazis and go in and destroy them. And also Hitler was a douchebag who attacked 2 fronts at the same time without having the proper army. So he kind of, he actually just a tactical mistake on his part. So anyways, he started going down from that. But there was a lot of intervention from other countries that were escalating that. Whereas this time around, all the governments of the world are doing the same thing all at the same time. And this is why it's going to be us that's going to have to do something. There will be no Winston Churchill coming in with his navy and helping anybody, right? It's going to be us, the citizens, us, the people who just want our freedom and don't want to live under some tyranny. We're the ones that are going to have to do this and not anybody else. There's nobody coming in to help. And what's really kind of ironic is we worked to demolish the Nazis back in the 30s. And I think there's a German lawyer right now who's gathering huge amounts of evidence against all of these measures and the forcing and the tyranny and all that. And I was thinking the other day, wouldn't it be kind of a nice twist of fate if it would be actually a German guy who would save the world? It would be Germany's ultimate redemption for the Nazi era, right? So I thought that would be really, really awesome if that happened. So, anyways, so yeah, so this escalation is insane, and I just wanted to show you a couple more things. One of them is this in Saskatchewan. So this is an order that came out September 13th. I think a lot of you guys have seen this. And it is a state of emergency. So basically, it's a declaration of emergency. This is a bit small, eh? Let me see if I can make it bigger. I can make it bigger. Okay. Declaration of emergency for the province of Saskatchewan. And it's a public health. So it's called the Emergencies Planning Act. And they've enabled this now as part of September 13th. And I just want to show this to you. And then we're going to go look at similar things that the USSR did under minister's order. We're going to see it's pretty scary. So powers of minister in an emergency. So this should scare everybody. Everything on this page should scare everybody. It's straight out of Stalin's USSR. But on the making of the emergency declaration, the minister may put into operation any emergency plan. So basically do whatever the heck they want, call it emergency plan, and boom, you have full power. Authorize or require local authority to put into effect emergency plan for the municipality. So that means minister dude's gonna give local dude a plan and say, use your police force and everybody and your bureaucrats to put the plan in effect. So that's what this means. Assume direction and control of the emergency response of a local authority. So basically, take control of local authorities. And that's what they're doing. Acquire or utilize any real or personal property that the minister considers necessary. Real or personal property, that could be your house. You know, like if your house is a really good spot for, I don't know, some kind of a, if they do, what could they do? If you're near a hospital and they need your house so that 5 or 6 doctors brought in from the UN can actually stay at your house, well, your house is personal property that the minister considers necessary to prevent, combat, or alleviate the effects of an emergency. If you have a house that is also in a good spot for a checkpoint, they might give your house to the soldiers so that soldiers, military, can establish a checkpoint and use your house as their spot. So things like that, or they could just confiscate whatever the heck they want. Personal property, I'm guessing guns will fall under that. So now confiscate all guns because, you know, it could alleviate the effects of an emergency. Authorize any qualified person to render aid of a type that the person is qualified to provide. So this means any person, so if you're a retired doctor, you thought you were retired, they could bring you back in, right? And bring you in. They could also bring in foreign doctors to come in and help, foreign military, right? Qualified person can be foreign military. Are you scared yet? We're just on letter E. Look how much it goes. It goes down so much. So yeah, and it's these Stalin and the Soviets did the same thing. They wouldn't authorize any qualified person. They would tell people what job to do. So they would basically come to your house, say, okay, now you're a factory worker. So you're going to come to the city center and you're going to be working in the factory from now on. And then they would go see another dude and go, yo, you're going to be working in the fields and the collective farms. Mao did the same in China. He basically decided everybody's going to have to construct steel in their backyard. And it resulted in the poorest quality steel ever made by humans because they weren't qualified for it. At least here they're looking for qualified people. But, you know, they've all done this where they allocate jobs to people. So this is kind of one of those where they're going to do it under Canadian law under an emergency. Control or prohibit travel to or from any area of Saskatchewan. So again, this is checkpoints. This is just borders, and it could be, You can't go 500 meters away from your house, or 5 miles, 5 kilometers, wherever you are, pick a measure. And that's what they could do. Oh, it's exhausting dealing with this, eh? Wait, I think I skipped one. I was trying to go through this. Provide the restoration of essential facilities and the distribution of essential supplies. So this is based central planning. So congratulations, Saskatchewan, you have central planning in your midst here. Provide, maintain, and coordinate emergency medical, welfare, law enforcement, and other essential services in any part. So, I mean, they normally provide, maintain, and coordinate medical, welfare, law enforcement anyways. But now what they've changed is emergency. It's under emergency. So basically, it just gives them more power to take away your freedoms because it's an emergency. Cause the evacuation of persons and the removal of persons or livestock and personal property from any area of Saskatchewan that this is or may be affected by an emergency, right? I don't know what are they smoking? The minister and whoever signed this, put this documentation together, what are they smoking? Like, aren't we dealing with COVID here? Like, what do you mean removal of livestock? What the hell? Like how does the removal of personal property have anything to do with COVID? Like, what, you're going to go after the people who maybe have stocked up on all the toilet paper and take it back from them and redistribute them as part of your central planning here? Like, it's just, I don't know what they're thinking, but this is egregious. Okay. Authorize the entry into any building or on any land without a warrant by any person in the course of implementing an emergency plan. So all of the government goons, the bureaucrats, will have the authorization to enter anywhere they want without a warrant. So they can come. So now we know they can enter your house. They can seize your house. They can take you from your house. All of this under this emergency thing. Cause the demolition or removal of any trees, structures, or crops if the demolition is necessary or appropriate in order to reach the scene of the emergency. Like, what the hell? Like, if they say, okay, we're going to fly in the UN troops, but they don't want to have to drive on the 401, so we're just going to, take the fields next to the 401 and just go through those, okay? So we're going to remove all the fields because we would prefer to use that than a 401. Like, what are they talking about? What are they doing? Procure or fix prices for food, clothing, fuel, equipment, medical supplies, or other essential supplies, and the use of any property, services, resources, or equipment within any part of Saskatchewan during the emergency period. So this means price fixing is very, very communist, by the way. Welcome to communism, Saskatchewan. You're going to find out what price fixing really does to your economy, and it's going to make everybody poor and make an explosion onto the black market. You're going to have to be dealing on black market. Cause information to be collected, used, or disclosed that the minister is satisfied is necessary to prevent. So this basically means you owe every secret of your life to the minister at this point. You have no soul. You are left at anything they want. They want to know anything in your past. They have the right to know. Conscript persons needed to meet an emergency. So all of you guys that are being let go from your jobs now because you won't do the jabby jab jab, they're going to now conscript you and take you to work for the government. So this is all planned. Like, it blows my mind that people can't see what's happening. But yeah, they're going to essentially take all the people who are collecting, like, once they stop the money they were giving people to sit at home because they were closing down everything. Once they run out of money to give them, they're going to say to these people, okay, well, now you work for the government and you're going to work, you're going to be a border patrol guy. You're going to be the guy that's going to go check the vax passports. And you're going to be the guy that's going to go and hunt down all the unvaxxed people and bring them back into the camps. This is what that means, conscript people. And do all acts and take all proceedings that are reasonably necessary to meet the emergency. And this is all acts that are reasonably. Reasonably will not save us here because they can argue that anything is reasonable at this point. It's for the greater good. And then they have the orders here. They define what that all people are required to go along with this. So yes, that was a lot of fun. Okay, so let's just in an effort to, and I hope my internet's good because I have a red bar here, so hopefully I'm not choppy. But here we go. It's funny, as soon as I talk about communism, my bar goes red. When I talk about the Nazis, I have green bars. What's happening? Is it too much truth? Okay, so this is a speech. I already read it in another video. It's a speech from Stalin. This one is one in 1929. And I wanted to show you the other one that I have, which is this one, also from Stalin, but this was in 1932. So we'll start with the 1929. I'll give you a quick refresher on what Stalin said then. So until then, he had been tolerating the richer people, the capitalists, if you want. So he basically created a class of people that they were going to antagonize and that they were going to go after. They called them the kulaks. Those were the peasants that were rich. And it started off with the really big rich guys who had mansions and a whole bunch of fields. But you could be considered a kulak if you had 2 cows, because under socialism, under communism, having 2 cows when your neighbor has none is not equal. Therefore, you are richer. Therefore, you should not be having 2 cows. So you're not rich when you own 2 cows and you're a peasant in Ukraine. You're just normal. But according to Stalin and his communist thugs, that was now becoming too rich and too communist, too capitalist for them. So this is where they have a few things. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I'm going to, or the whole speech, but I'm going to read to you a few of these things. So this is how he talks to people. Until recently, the party adhered to the policy of restricting the exploiting tendencies of the kulaks. So what he means by that, what he's referring to is he was just looking at putting small sanctions on them, trying to prevent them from trading, trying to prevent them from buying more things to get richer. So he's like, we were just restricting them until now. And that sounds awfully familiar to this kind of language, right? Restrict the private property, prohibit the travel. So we are essentially on the same, roughly at the same spot that the communists in USSR were around 1929. So we're right there. We're about to have the really bad phase happen. And yeah, we'll keep going. You'll see. As you know, this policy was proclaimed as far back as the 8th Party Congress. It was again announced at the time of the introduction of the NEP. We all remember Lenin's well-known letter in which he once again returned to the need for pursuing this policy. Finally, this policy was confirmed by the 15th Congress of our party, and it was a policy that we were pursuing until recently. So 15 Congresses of the USSR, remember it was 1917, it started. They had 15 Congresses, and that whole time they were restricting the exploitation of the kulak, meaning they're just monitoring them, making sure they can't get richer, and trying to coerce them along the way and stealing their stuff, like all that stuff. Now, he says, was this policy correct? I love it when people in a speech, they ask their own questions and then answer them. I guess when you have no media that can actually ask you true questions, you have to do that for yourself. But of course, he gives himself the good answers. So was this policy correct? Yes, it was absolutely correct at the time. This, again, is more language that we're seeing now. Oh, at the time we didn't know, but now we know. So at the time we didn't think COVID camps were necessary, but now we know they are. This is the same language, same goddamn bullshit we're going through all over again. Could we have undertaken, I'm quoting Stalin again, could we have undertaken such an offensive against the kulaks some 5 years or 3 years ago? Could we have counted on success in such an offensive? No, we could not. So the kulaks were still too powerful. The communists were still building their platforms. And that is why, in Stalin's estimation, until now, 1929, they couldn't do anything too aggressive against the kulaks. So he says that would have been dangerous. By that, he means he would have lost. It would have been a dangerous playing at an offensive. So he says he would have failed, and that would have strengthened the position of the kulaks, Why? Because we did not yet have in the countryside strong points in the form of a wide network of state farms and collective farms, which could be the basis for a determined offensive against the kulaks. This is exactly this. Minister, Province of Saskatchewan, Declaration, Emergency Planning Act, getting into your house, establishing checkpoints, taking anything they need under emergency. This and this is the same thing. It's the same thing. We are at the same point now. So Stalin is basically saying, if we had done this before, we didn't have a network in the countryside to be able to organize. But since the last 3 to 5 years, we've been working on putting all of our little commie tattletale guys into the countryside. And we now have a network that is established and strong enough that we can pursue the aggressivity against the people. This is what they're doing here. They're establishing that connection into the countryside. They're establishing these people here. Conscript persons needed to meet an emergency. That's what they're doing. They're building that network to put these people all over Saskatchewan and now establish a network. Checkpoints, creation of COVID camps where we can deport people, have, like all these people that are going to be monitoring social media. In our case, we're going to be doing that. But they're going to be monitoring social media in an effort to make sure that no false information gets out there. And then they're going to go after the people who are putting out this content. But this and the Stalin speech on kulaks is the exact same thing. They are building the network here in order to achieve what Stalin was achieving in the late 1920s, in order for him to turn the aggressivity button on and then go after the people for real. Like not just what he was talking about before here when he was saying restricting the exploiting tendencies of the kulaks. Now he's going and he has the strong points and he's going after it, a determined offensive against the kulaks. So that's what we're doing in Canada. That's what a lot of people are doing. And that's why France and all these countries who are revolting, they understand this. They're closer to communism than we were in Canada. We have a lot of immigrants that came here from Ukraine and from all sorts of communist hellholes that were there. We have Romanians here. We have, Croatians. We have Serbian. We have so many people that came from those Eastern countries that were under communism for the longest time. And they are seeing this and they're going, holy shit, guys, you guys better wake up. But that's it. The Canadians, we don't seem to care. And I don't get it. Why don't we care that we have now a declaration? And this declaration, it's in Saskatchewan for now, but don't be fooled. It's coming everywhere. They're coming everywhere with this kind of declaration. Okay. Just keep going on Stalin a little bit, and then we'll move over to something, the last thing I'm going to show you today. An offensive against kulaks is a serious matter. Well, darn yeah, it is. It should not be confused with declamations against the kulak, nor should it be confused with the policy of pinpricks against the kulak. So basically he's saying, guys, we're done with sanctions and we're done with putting these people in jail. Let's go kill them. That's basically what he's saying in here. So to launch an offensive against the kulaks means that we must smash the kulaks. So I don't think Canada is going to ever talk like that, because I think at that point we would actually revolt. I don't think they're going to, but they're going to use more hidden language to do this. It won't be smash the kulaks. It'll be identify who the unjabbed are. That's going to be more the language, like who are the unjabbed? Why are they unjabbed? And it's going to be more under a caring facade. But really what they want to do is they want to force you to get the jab. So here he says, eliminate them as a class. Unless we set ourselves these aims, an offensive would be a mere declamation. Pinpricks, phrase mongering, anything but a real Bolshevik offense. So to launch an offensive against the kulaks means we must prepare for it and then strike at the kulaks, strike so hard as to prevent them from rising to their feet again. And this is where, that little network that Stalin had established. Well, there's letters back and forth or telegrams from those, from deep in the countryside back over to Stalin. And they're saying, okay, so what do we do now? We have this village surrounded, but what do we do? And Stalin and Lenin was the same, but he said, just kill the most senior people in the most brutal and public way possible to instill the fear in the rest of them. And often they would just kick some of the kulaks out, but they would kill a lot of them. And the goal of that was to strike as much fear as they possibly could into the rest of the population so that they would comply. And we are already using fear in Canada. That's already being used right now. So we're just basically one step away from this 1927 declaration, from 1929 declaration from Stalin. So there was this strike so hard that they prevent from their rising to their feet again. So he says again, could we have undertaken this 5 years ago? No, we could not. Okay, so let's look at something else here. I wanted to show you in 1932, this is where they have, and I have the other, hold on, let me show you this one first. This is August 7th, 1932. So now they're aggressively going after the kulaks, but they also issued, and it took him 3 years. We are on an accelerated timeline in Canada for this, similar to Australia. They're super extreme, but this is a resolution that Stalin imposed on the Ukraine, and he called it on safekeeping property of state enterprises, collective farms, and cooperatives, and strengthening public property. So look, these are all the same words that we're using today. So we need to lock you down, to keep you safe, and to strengthen our defense against COVID-19, right? So the same words that we're hearing here, according to Stalin. And here's what he says: make all property belonging to the collective farm and cooperatives, right? And then he lists what all they're equivalent to state property, and fully strengthen the protection of this property against theft. So that basically means take all private property and defend it in the name of the state. All this is in the name of the state. It's all because it's for public safety, similar to the order we were just looking at for Saskatchewan, which is also for public safety. Use judicial repressions, this is Stalin again, use judicial repressions of the highest degree as measures of social protection against the theft. Execution by shooting, so he's basically saying you must shoot people and you must confiscate all property, and 10 years of imprisonment if you're caught fighting against that. So if you're not shot, but you're fighting against the collectivization, you get 10 years of imprisonment. And imprisonment is not like in a jail. It's in a concentration camp, a workers' camp. Amnesty cannot be granted to criminals sentenced in cases of collective farm and cooperative property theft. So if you yourself, you work for Stalin and you're just caught stealing something, you're going to go into a camp as well for 10 years. So he has another part here where he says, conduct a decisive battle with all anti-public kulak capitalist elements that use violence and threats, or promote the use of violence and threat against collective farmers, forcing them to leave, or purposefully destroy collective farms. So basically it's going after anybody who says anything against it. So essentially, if Canada went to this level, I would be somebody that they would come after, because they would accuse me of violence and threats and promote violence and threats, even though I don't, but just because I go against what they're saying. So this is an example. I would end up, according to this, if this was in Canada right now, I would end up in a camp. Okay, or probably dead. They probably shoot me. I don't know. Both are bad. Anyways, okay. Use measures of judicial repression for protecting the farms. And then again, it's the 10-year concentration camp. And then amnesty cannot be granted to criminals sentenced in these cases. And it's kind of funny to me because there is no criminal justice system. Like, you don't sit in a jail for 3 months while you get your day in court. Like, there was none of that. They said you were caught stealing, and you went to a camp. There was no, I don't understand why they say this. They're trying to look like they're some kind of a democratic country with a true judicial system, but they didn't have that. It's all bullshit. Okay, and then in the last one here, I wanted to show you, this is January 3rd, 1932. This is how they're talking about collecting the grain. So they basically said all collective farms in Ukraine. So now at this point, they've shot or sent to camps anybody who opposed it. So they had 1929 to 1932 to execute their madness and complete tyranny on the peasants of Ukraine. And then they said, here, We consider the state of affair with grain procurement to be a disgrace to the Ukrainian party and demand that everyone authorized by the Central Committee, all party organization, all party members, immediately use all measures necessary to ensure that Ukraine fully and completely executes the decisions concerning grain. This is this. It's the same thing. So this 1932 resolution is this 2021 resolution, declaration of emergency. So I don't know how else, like, I don't know what it's going to take for people to wake up to what's happening. We're essentially reacting full-blown medical Nazi processes now. We're also doing full-blown communism all at the same time, all over the world. And yet I go out and people still seem to be like, oh, what's on sale at Costco this week? And I'm just like, I mean, I get that your day-to-day life is important, but how people don't see the bigger picture is completely mind-boggling to me. I don't understand. So anyways, okay, to recap today, we are in true danger in the Western world. Canada, Australia, UK, France, Germany, all Belgium, everybody, US to a lesser degree, but still, we are in serious danger right now because they are escalating this. They are now punishing people who do not go along with the vaccine, and they are just about to start issuing permissions to go after the unvaccinated. It's going to be things like, your kids can't be in school. We already talked about that. But what happens if you're vaccinated and your spouse is not? They're not going to let you live in the same house. I can guarantee you that. That's what they did to the Jews. They said, okay, at first, you can be married to a Jew if you're German. But as the war progressed, the Nazis said, you know what? You can't be married to a Jew. Jews are too awful. You can't be married to a Jew. So they would force people to divorce. And then they would send a Jewish partner to the concentration camp. So if you think that this isn't coming, we're about 2-3 months away from this insane escalation in madness. And like I said, nobody's going to help us, so we have to help ourselves. So I'm not saying don't do anything violent, because I don't want people to think that that's the message here. The message really is disobey as much as you possibly can, even if you've taken the vaccine. Disobey all of this, fight all of this. They don't have enough people to do this, but they're laying down the groundwork to doing it. So disobey everything. Don't wear masks. Stop, going along with this stuff. And hopefully that's our only chance at winning, if we have mass disobedience across the world over the next few months. I think we're running out of time, and we need to start doing this. So still doing it peacefully, but absolutely we need to stop listening to this government bullshit they're pushing it on us. Is complete communism. It's a revival of Nazism in certain extent, and they're doing it all over the world all at once. So we do have to stand up for this and stop this madness before they get too far deep, before they get their declaration and their little networks established in the countryside. So anyways, at this point, guys, I wish everybody the best out there. I hope you guys are stay brave and keep fighting. We need all of you. And yeah, somebody said they were late. So sorry. Oh, it's okay. No, you're good, Jay. You're late, but it's all good. I'm glad you're here. Just go on Rumble. I'm going to put a compressed version of this video with more spiciness to it on Rumble and on BitChute. So if you guys want to follow me there, I think I'm numbered on YouTube. I've had a few strikes now. So just if you're able to just follow me on these other platforms, and then I'll put some content out there. And eventually I'd like to start transitioning from streaming on YouTube over here to streaming on Rumble, and then have Rumble and DLive as opposed to YouTube. So anyways, that's it for me, guys. I hope you guys are having a great day. How can you after I just depressed the hell out of you? but stay strong through this. Stay brave. We need a lot of brave souls out there, and start doing disobedience everywhere you go, because all of this cannot keep going. So anyways, thanks so much, guys. And I will see everybody in the next one. See you Wednesday, actually. Okay.